102.1 FM, your urban lifestyle station.
And I know it's gonna be a lovely day.
Hello there. Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Good morning. Welcome to the newspaper review segment this morning right here on Impact 102.1 FM. I am Timmy Tokwe Arugundade. Yeah, it's a beautiful Wednesday morning, November 12th, 2025. And as always, we're taking a look at the major headlines making the front pages of Nigeria's leading dailies, the Vanguard, the Guardian, Punch, and the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. There's a lot happening across the country, from diplomacy and economic reforms to political tension and regulatory action. So we'll be taking a quick dive into them right now. We'll be starting strong with the Punch newspaper this morning. Major headline on the Punch newspaper this morning says, House shuts down plenary amid tension over budget. House shuts down plenary amid tension over budget. And we have one writer to the story. One writer to the story says, over 45 bills reports stalled. Reps grumble over inadequate funding during tense closed door session. And you can get more on that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Beneath that story, we have World Cup playoff. Eagles boycott training over bonuses. Yeah, currently the Super Eagles are in Morocco and they're meant to have a training yesterday for the World Cup qualifiers. And now we're getting news that Eagles boycott training over bonuses. But you can get more on the story on page 45 of the Punch newspaper. Beside that story, we have tension as Wike soldiers clash over ex-naval chief's land. That story, the videos we saw yesterday, it was quite intense, and now the Punch is reporting on it. Tension as Wike soldiers clash over ex-naval chief's land. And you can get more on that on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. And of course, the phone lines are open for you to call us in to join the conversation. 090-7224-5018. I'll take that again, 090-7224-5018. And of course, we are live on YouTube at impact 102.1 FM. You can join us and enjoy the conversation. Join us to enjoy the conversation and also contribute to the conversation. You can get more on that story of the tension as Wike soldiers clash over ex-naval chief's land on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Beside the story, we have NDLEA, US, UK unravel 338 billion naira global cocaine network. That is a lot. NDLEA, US, UK unravel 338 billion naira global cocaine network. You can get more on that on page 12. Beside the nameplate, we have Nigeria's debt may eat 193 trillion naira with new loans. Wow. And this is coming from Edun. Nigeria's debt may eat 193 trillion naira with new loans. You can get more on that on page 27. Above the nameplate, we have PDP crisis deepens as Abuja court halts convention. PDP crisis deepens as Abuja court halts convention. And we can get more on that on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. Beside that story, we have Tinubu governors Sultan Grace Editors Conference today. Tinubu Governors Sultan Grace Editors Conference today, and that story is on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. And the last story will be taken this morning on the Punch newspaper says only 44% of social benefits reach poor Nigerians. The World Bank is saying only 44% of social benefits reach poor Nigerians. And of course, this is quite baffling, but you can get more on the story on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all we'll be taking this morning on the Punch newspaper. Moving to the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, major story on the Daily Trust newspaper says no going back on convention, and this is coming from PDP. No going back on convention, PDP. And you can get more on the story on the front page, and also it continues on page 3 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Travelers spend hours on Lagos-Ibadan expressway. Travelers spend hours on Lagos-Ibadan expressway, and you can get more on that on page 33 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Beneath that story, we have 2 killed as Katsina communities protest over bandit attacks. 2 killed as Katsina communities protest over bandit attacks, and you can get that on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. 48 hours to World Cup playoff, Super Eagles boycott training. 48 hours to World Cup playoff, Super Eagles boycott training. And that story is on page 38 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Right beneath the nameplate, we have why senators wanted to impeach Akpabio. Why senators wanted to impeach Akpabio. And that story is on page 12 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Lawyers CSO knock Wike over altercation with soldiers. Lawyers CSO knock Wike over altercation with soldiers. Yeah, you can get that on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And the last story we'll be taking this morning on the Daily Trust newspaper says stock market loses 4.6 trillion naira, highest in decade. Stock market loses 4.6 trillion naira, highest in decade. And that story is on page 25 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And that's all the stories we'll be taking this morning on the Daily Trust newspaper. Before we move on to the remaining papers this morning, we'll be going on a quick break. And when we are back, we'll read the remaining 2 papers, and then we'll have our guest analyst to break down some of the stories for us and give us better insights into these stories. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
It takes a lot of guts to golf the way we do. That's why we are the tiger in the woods. High Impact 102.1 FM.
You asked for great radio here. We brought you the king. We brought you the king. High Impact 102.1 FM. The king of radio.
The king of radio is here. Impact 102.1 FM.
12 hours of intense worship, 12 anointed artists, one stage. Are you ready? High Impact Praise Blast 2025 is coming. Get ready for a night of fire where praise, worship, miracles, and joy abound. It is High Praise Reloaded. Date Friday, December 26th, 2025. Time 6 p.m. Venue Impact Planet Amusement Park Resort and Hotel, Kilometer 12, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, Ibafo. Ministry DJ Ernestine, Adeyinka Alasheyori, BJ Sax, Shenwele Jesu, Lilian Neji, RCCG Praise Team, the City Choir, Laolu Benjo, Bidemi Olaoba, Sumisola Agbebi, Toluwani Sings, Chinyere Udoma. For more inquiries, please call 0814-229-9509 or 0706-393-5694. Entry is absolutely free. High Praise Reloaded. It is time to praise loud, worship deep, and live blessed.
This is your everyday companion.
Everyday companion.
High Impact 102.1 FM.
Welcome back to our Impact 102.1 FM. If you're just joining us, we're currently on newspaper review segment. We've gone through two papers already. That's the Daily Trust and the Punch newspaper. And now we're moving to the Guardian and the Vanguard newspaper. And of course, you know, we are live on YouTube on Impact 102.1 FM. Go join us. See the face that is talking to you. Yeah, you can also join the conversation. Call in, give us your intake on some of these stories at 090-7224-5018. I'll take that again, 090-7224-5018. Now let's move to the remaining two papers for this morning. Moving to the Guardian newspaper this morning. Major headline on the Guardian newspaper this morning says, Ambition legal battle stall PDP's convention threaten 2027 prospect. Ambition legal battle stall PDP convention threaten 2027 prospect. And you can get that on page 6. FG may suspend planned CGT over market concerns. FG may suspend planned CGT over market concerns. And that story is on news page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Beneath that story, we have Wike military officers fraud over disputed FCT property. And that story is on news page 30. It's a major story. We saw the videos, we saw the tension, we saw everything. That story is on news page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. Genocide. Nigerians urge Tinubu to go harder on terrorists, end bloodshed. So Nigerians are pleading with the president that go harder on terrorists and end bloodshed. And of course, the story is on news page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Beneath that story, we have NAFDAC outlaws production. NAFDAC outlaws production, sale of sachet alcoholic beverages. So NAFDAC is saying, they need to stop sale of sachet alcoholic beverages. And you can get more on that on news page 30. Yeah, you should read more on that on news page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. FG moves to ban single-use plastic. FG moves to ban single-use plastics, and you can get more on that on news page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Anxiety as investors lose 4.6 trillion naira in equities, single largest post-COVID daily loss. That is a lot. 4.6 trillion naira. Wow. Anxiety as investors lose 4.6 trillion naira in equities, single largest post-COVID daily loss. And you can get that on business page 10 of the Guardian newspaper. And right beneath the nameplate, we have Amechi Ezekwesili asks Nigerians to hold politicians accountable urge electoral system overall. And that story is on news page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Beside the story, we have Nigerians eye 2.8 oil input as NUPRC begins licensing round. Okay, that seems like an encouraging story, and you can get that on news page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. And the last story we'll be taking this morning on the Guardian newspaper is Senate rebukes NNPC, reject explanation on unaccounted 210 trillion naira. We're hearing a lot of big sum this morning, and these are stories that I will need my guest analyst to break down and explain better to us where this money is coming from, was the use. Just for him to give us more insight on this story, Senate rebukes NNPC, reject explanation on uncounted 210 trillion naira. And this story is on news page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's all the story we'll be taking this morning on the Guardian newspaper. Moving to the last paper we'll be taking this morning, and that's the Vanguard newspaper. Major story on the Vanguard newspaper says Trump diplomatic engagement yielding results, and this is coming from the federal government. Diplomatic engagement yielding results, and we have quite a number of riders to this story. Alleged certain US-based lobby groups working to misrepresent Nigeria's situation. So the federal government is alleging that certain US-based lobbyist groups are working to misrepresent Nigeria's situation. Another writer says federal government not doing enough to end Christian killing, and this is coming from US congressman. Federal government not doing enough to end Christian killings, and this is from a US congressman. Another writer says Tinubu, Chief of Army Staff, meets behind closed doors, still on this diplomatic engagement yielding results. Another writer to that story says Shuaibu assures Nigeria of improved security. Shuaibu assures Nigeria of improved security. Nigeria bleeding from its own division. And this is coming from Vatican envoy. Nigeria bleeding from its own division. Another writer says embrace dialogue, not anger over Trump's comments. And this is coming from Northern Khan. Urges Nigerians. They are urging Nigerians that they should embrace dialogue and not anger over Trump's comments. And another writer says terrorism in Nigeria multi-faced, and this is coming from Afeni Ferry. The last writer we're taking on the story says protest rock Castina communities over bandit attacks. Well, that's a story on its own entirely. If you want to read more on the diplomatic engagement using results that's coming from the federal government, you can go to page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. So another story is protest rock Castina communities over bandit attacks, and that story is on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. There's a pictorial representation of the president's visit to the Yaradua home, former President Yaradua's home. You can see the current governor with some family members of former President Umar Yaradua. Beneath that picture, we have approved duty-free importation for aircraft spare parts, and this is coming from Keyamo. We have approved duty-free importation for aircraft spare parts, and more of that story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Beneath that story, we have no governor can complain of poor funding under Tinubu. No governor can complain of poor funding under Tinubu, and this is coming from Governor Sanwo-Olu. Is saying that no governor under this current administration can complain of poor funding under the president. Okay, you can get more on that on page 10 of the Vanguard paper. Beside that story, we have PDP crisis. This story is on all the papers we've read this morning. Lamido secures another court order stopping convention. Yeah, the court in Abuja has stopped the PDP convention. Lamido secures another court order stopping convention. And that story you can get on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Another story says, Anambra poll, Soludo deputy received certificates of return from INEC. Soludo deputy received certificates of return from INEC, and that's on page 11. Right above the nameplate, we have Edu pledges review of capital gains tax to boost investor confidence. Edu pledges review of capital gains tax to boost investor confidence, and you can get that on page 19. On page 8, we have all set for a details conference in Abuja today. All set for a details conference in Abuja today. Another story says Tinubu reforms winning not, and this is coming from Baduru Anyim Arewa think tank. They are saying that the president's reform is winning the North, and that story is on page 57. And the last story we're taking this morning on the front page of Vanguard is on page 9, and it says Wike soldiers bicker over alleged land grabbing in Abuja. And that's all the stories we'll be taking this morning on the papers, and we'll be going on a quick break, and when we are back, we'll be having our guest analyst who will help us to make sense of some of these issues and break down some of these stories with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen of the world,
Want to know what the future sounds like? High Impact 102.1 FM. We are the future.
Are you looking for an avenue to blast your brand? Why not let us be your detonator at High Impact Radio 102.1 FM with got you covered. For advert placement, sponsorship, partnership, call us on 0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, 0902 745 3931, or send an email to info@highimpactstudio.com.
Babe, I want to surprise my guy with a good treat. Where would you recommend?
Girl, I've got the perfect place for you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, my family and I were there not too long ago. It was fantastic, and the kids loved it. The apartment was home away from home, the rides, swimming pool, 3D cinema, and the food. Oh my gosh.
Where's this place now?
It's High Impact Planet Amusement Park and Resort, my dear. It's just away from Lagos, and it has everything you need to relax and have unlimited fun.
How do I make booking?
Oh yeah, call this number 0814-229-9509. Wait, are you booking a suite?
Why?
So I can tag along,
Nikini. High Impact Planet Amusement Park and Resort. Fun just got real.
We don't give the dry life, we give the high life. This is High Impact 102.1 FM, your urban lifestyle station.
Are you a solo entrepreneur, startup team, or a seasoned professional looking for workspaces beyond the traditional office setting? High Impact Studios is the perfect place for you. Whether you're into the focus of a private or shared desk, the solitude of a personal corner, the exclusivity of a private office, or the collaboration in a conference room, we've got diverse plans designed around your preferences. So break free from the regular and elevate your work lifestyle by visiting High Impact Studios today. For inquiries, call 0706 393 5694 or 0813 428 2879. You can also send an email to info@highimpactstudios.com to reserve your space today.
come on over to my place.
High Impact 102.1 FM.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're at the second segment of newspaper review this morning on Impact 102.1 FM. And joining me this morning to analyze today's headlines is our guest analyst, Mr. Sheson Okun-Ade. He's a seasoned public affairs analyst and he's an economist. And he's going to help us to unpack the key political, economic, and policy implications behind today's front pages. Good morning, sir. Can you hear me? Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Oh, good morning, sir. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning to all our listeners across the globe. It's glad to be here.
Okay, sir. Let's move to the stories. There's this story about the federal government saying the diplomatic engagement with US is yielding result. They are saying that Nigerians' image abroad and how the communication they're having with them is yielding results. How much of this diplomatic progress do you think is going to translate into something that will benefit us here in Nigeria, sir?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, the most important thing about this diplomatic tie is to benefit the common man that is out there. And if this is not well thought through and strengthened, it will deter a lot of our people who have possibly business idea in exchanging with the United States of America in getting the necessary support that is needed all the time. That is one. The second aspect of it is it doesn't speak well of our image as a nation when we have this problem, so to say, with the powerhouse in the world. So a lot of gain are there to benefit us. Economically, you have organization in such country believing in the cause of the nation. Secondly, politically we can align with some of the things that will be beneficiary to the citizen, not being absorbed just as if we are not a sovereign nation. So it's strategic enough. Don't forget that it's part of the support we got in order to get the ammunition we got from US in fighting some of this things, even though a lot of these things have actually not been put into use. So it's good that we be on the same page with the government of America. If not for anything, at least to enjoy some of the benefits of bilateral agreements that may occur between the two nations.
Thank you so much, sir. Now let's move to the big story that happened yesterday. The video that everyone in Lagos, in Nigeria, have seen that video, and they have one or two comments concerning that video. Is the Abuja land issue. Yesterday we saw Wike and soldiers bickering over alleged land grabbing, and this raises a lot of concerns about. Okay, some say that why would the soldier talk to a minister like that? Some are saying, why would the minister also talk to a soldier like that? So we have conflicting comments and opinions. I want to hear your own opinion and your own take on this issue, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Toba. Both parties, I will fault them. Sincerely speaking, they have not demonstrated that which is expected of them. And I will say maybe to my honorable minister, that which happened, I didn't expect it, because he understands the position of some of these military men. Their word always is obey the last order. And when they are out there, they can do and undo. One. Two, I'm sure you did not see the owner of the land there. He only gave the instruction. And I feel that the minister should have done the same on the part of sending his people. And if they actually do, the law is there. And that's why we have the judiciary. He has the power as the FCT minister to actually carry out certain things backed by the law. You don't go out and give some altercation against our military arm. We all know the position of military. In as much as what the man did, to my own knowledge, is acting, and that is a military man. You can't take that away. A military man will not allow a civilian to actually talk him down, irrespective of the way it is. That is their training. And I think emotional intelligence will play a key role. I expected that at the first pushback from the man, the minister should just have withdrawn, possibly call the superiors. He said he called the CDS. But you're still there throwing words saying that somebody is a fool, somebody lacks, you don't need it as minister. And I say this, immediately someone comes out to tell you, do you know who I am? Is a failure. Do you want to tell me that that Lieutenant Colonel do not know Wike? He knows him very well, but they actually sent him there because they know he can match him up. And as minister, you don't need those power. You are empowered by the law, and you approach the court to do justice to that which you have the power to do. Let the man go and beat up the judge or do anything. It is the law that will actually validate some of the things that you're doing. And that's why, for me, some of the altercation that came out there is actually demeaning, even to our military force, in as much as we know that that is their training. You heard when the guy said, I am actually following an order.
Yeah.
But I feel that the military men too needs to tread with caution. They feeling that they are above the law is not something that will be welcome. Even though the man in question came up to say that all their documents have actually been, and I know at times the way and manner the civil servant, hide information from one another. I looked at the man that was trying to say is an MNI. MNI, I don't understand what that brings to bear. You don't need to show you come out to say that do you know that I'm a professor? From the way and manner you push out your word, the individual understand that this is actually someone that respect our earn, not force. Coming to say, I'm MNI, are you aware you're talking to the Minister of the Federal Republic? They know. And that's why they actually came up with someone that they feel that can stamp their ground, and that is military training. It is just for those high up there to caution and talk to one another. I'm sure you know the one that happened in Lagos where military feel they are above the law. That has actually stopped now after there was a discussion between the governor and the heads of these military arms. Military units in Lagos. Because before now, what you see them do majorly is to follow the law, move on BRT buses, drive against traffic, and the likes. But I'm sure after the discussion with their superior, that has actually been minimized. And I think it is that we need, not actually challenging and being confrontational, using words that can actually be derogatory even to our military force.
Thank you very much, sir, because yesterday we could hear him saying he's on the order of a 3-star general, and he stood on his ground that he was not going to move, and the back and forth was quite a lot from them. So, sir, we are moving from that story. We've gotten your opinion and we really appreciate it. We're moving to economic situation that is going on. We are seeing on the front pages that investors lose 4.6 trillion in equities, and that is the largest post-COVID daily loss. This raises a lot of questions about investor confidence, because we're seeing the CBN saying, we're trying to do something to boost investors' confidence, and now investors are losing 4.6 trillion in equities. What do you think triggered this sharp market loss? And how do you think the government can restore confidence in the Nigeria capital market, sir?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the new reform as regard the capital gain tax, which is actually being introduced. I'm sure before now it's under exemption, under the law, but certain percentage need to be paid on some of the gains that you have on some of these things that is actually being plowed there. I think it's a full reaction to the implementation of the law. People are bound to react to such in a very sharp manner. But one thing is very much certain, that when you understand what the government is trying to establish and what they are trying to pass across by galvanizing the revenue, it will normalize itself. It's a sharp reaction to some of the reforms in question. And that is just like when the President Trump, gave his words on the issue that has to do with our insecurity. I'm sure we lost a lot, even at the capital market too. And that's why this will always happen. It has always been happening when there are reforms or there are slight changes to some of the things that people knows. You are bound to face this, and that would definitely be the order of the day.
Okay, so talking about the reforms. We are saying that Arewa are saying that those Tinubu's reforms is winning the North. Do you think that this statement is more? Do you think it's actually a positive impact on the northern part of this country, or is more of a political statement?
Pardon me, Tobe, let me have the question again. I missed
Okay, so we're speaking on the reforms that the president is actually dishing out now. Arewa people in the north are saying this reforms is actually winning them, and they're actually feeling positive impact on it. Do you really think that they're actually feeling this positive impact, or these are just political statements just for political sake?
Well, I would not say, first and foremost, you look at who is actually responding to this from the northern region that we're talking about. If it is the people that is reacting to this, not the politician, you ask yourself that it is no more of political intake. So, if it is the politician, you look at the side at which they are actually reacting to this. A lot of us have said that if the new reform is followed to letter, it's a gain to the people, most especially business venture. Don't forget, part of the word of the chairman of the Presidential Task Force is that government is not out to tax the seed, but the gain. And that's why we have several exemptions that will aid the small and business enterprise. So a lot of people are actually galvanizing towards 1st of January. And it's, by the last quarter, that's when you know how some of these reactions are. So if it is the people that are reacting to this, well, it's a plus, because this has nothing to do with the security issue. It's more of economical. And if you see people saying that you can have understanding of what you're actually paying to the government. And don't forget, the issue of multiplicity of taxation, of taxes, is actually being addressed, because it's one of the elephants in the room that majority of the businesses are actually faced with. And if these are actually being tracked, I anchored a program last week where we have a guest from the Joint Revenue Board. And it's not a criminal. People are working towards, streamlining all these non-state actors that we have on the road in order to reduce the pressure that people are actually faced with. So when there are changes in things like this, we are bound to actually enjoy the dividend. It's a matter of patience. Change is inevitable. When it first comes, people, want to respect. But in the long run, it will be a plus that will definitely be a gain for the nation holistically.
Thank you very much, sir. Now let's move to the public health issue. The federal government is moving to ban single-use plastics, and NAFDAC is also stopping the sale of sachet alcoholic beverages. Do you think that this policy strikes right balance between public health and economic realities? Hello, sir.
Yeah, it strikes a right balance, if you ask me, because it's the impacts or the ills that this alcoholic does, I'm sure you know, is deep. When some people get drunk, you discover accident, and because of easy access to those things, this part of the world they call it belebe. It's easily accessible. Not the one that you go all out to see how costly it will be to get a bottle. That can deter you. But when you now have it, it's just like when they introduced new milk, then I'm sure those organizations that started the searching had an edge, because what that did was to give it open more market where individuals can now have access to that particular product at a cheaper and do it for what they are saying. Is that you need to see the level at which people are taking drugs because of the accessibility, because of the availability. So if this is actually implemented the way it should go, I think it will impact on our health system and reduce some of these accidents that we have on the road. When people take drugs, when you take some of these alcoholic thing before you embark on the journey, it gives that headache. But when you raise the bar, that becomes, not readily available the way we have it now. Everybody, even some people just want to test it. And because you can get it for 50 naira, 100 naira, you feel that, okay, let me just get one. But you can imagine where you need to buy a bottle, maybe for as small as 5,000. That means you have to have good savings before you have those things. So, to me, there is no how we feel that we want to have economic gain, which affects our health, in a very dangerous manner. So it's a welcome idea for me. If you ask, if it can be fully implemented, and when you understand the gain that we have with the degradation of this plastic, you definitely know that is a right step in the right direction, which will definitely be a plus for us on the long term.
Do you believe that we are truly ready for this banning of single-use plastic products, sir?
Yeah, there is no better time to do it. It's for you to start. When you start, you look at way to follow up and make sure that everything is done in line with what it should be. So that's just my own. Most of the time we are always asking, is this the best time or not the best time? There is no best time. It's actually carrying out anything that you intend to do. Start now. With time, people will infuse into the changes that is actually there on their path, and you can get integrated into the process. So we are fully ready. It's the enforcement part that is worrisome to me, because some people will now use it as an opportunity to be exploiting people and still allow them to carry out what is not actually there.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now let's move to the last question I'll be asking you this morning. The Minister of Aviation, Keyamo, said they have approved duty-free importation for aircraft and spare parts. And this policy, according to the minister, aims to support airlines and attract investment. However, local operators are battling high maintenance costs and weak naira. So my question this morning is, do you see this move as a genuine relief for the aviation sector or just a short-term fix?
Well, when you talk about the genuinity, there is nothing the government tried to do. They would have weighed the pros and cons before carrying it out. So I'm sure you know a lot of things that we put to use in aviation are being imported. And if the government can actually relax, some of those things, it will aid the maintenance of some of these aircraft. Before now, A lot of these aircraft are actually being taken out for servicing. But here we are now. We have organization that is into the maintenance of some of these things, and that is a plus on our part. But when you discover that the parts to use are not accessible, are not affordable, it impacts on the delivery of that particular. So it's a genuine thing. Most of the time, I will always say that it's not a big deal when you look at the policy being put in place by the government. It is the implementation that is always my concern, because a lot of people just like cutting short, and cutting corners, in making sure that they beat the system that is actually out there for their gain. That is always my. But it's a good step in the right direction, because what that will aid is that it will assist those organizations who carries out maintenance of these aircraft to actually, and it will reduce the cost of deliveries on their part when they're actually doing some of this maintenance work, which will create more employment on the part of the citizen of the country.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Sheson Kwade, for sharing your insight with us this morning, and we really appreciate you for joining us. Thank you so much, sir.
It's always a good time to start the midweek with you, Tokwe, and to all our listeners, do have a very wonderful day, and please be conscious of activities that we do that will impact on the growth of our nation. Thank you. God bless us, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you. Do have a lovely day, sir. So we've touched on diplomacy, we've touched on economic reform, security, and environmental policies, all critical issues that shape the nation's direction. And to our listeners, that's as much as we can take this morning on today's newspaper review segment. Join us tomorrow for more updates, same time, same station, and for us to analyze more stories shaping Nigeria. And I'm your host for this morning, Temitope Aragindade. Thank you so much for listening. Do stay tuned for more programs, more music, and things coming up. Don't move at that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right here. We'll be right back.
Hello there. Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Start your day with Impact as we give you positive affirmations, traffic